Let's get into this. So our first review of the day is going to be for the film Alien. Alien, all the way back in 1979, is having its 45th year anniversary this year, and is being re-released in theaters. I think it made a profit of 1.6 million being re-released in theaters there this weekend. I think they're only doing like a so far like a few day release. It's not going to be that long there. But yeah, so it is having its 45th year anniversary. This movie, classic film, sci-fi horror film here. This basically launched the career of Sigourney Weaver, who was one of the youngest people in this movie. She was 28 years old doing this film, and she only had been doing Broadway, I think, previously to this. Everyone else in this film were already kind of veteran actors, already character actors. You had people like Ian Holmes, who he's passed away now. People also might know him. He was Bilbo, Bilbo Baggins there. He's the one that went crackhead mode on Frodo for touching the ring there. People might know him for that. You also have Harry Dean Stanton in this, also another legendary character actor as well. He
Reappeared as this exact same character in Spaceballs.
Oh, I forgot he was in that Spaceball. I forgot he was in that. He was also in The Godfather Part 2. He was also in Escape from New York, Cool Hand Luke. He was also in, I think, one of his more recent things. He was in a film called Lucky, which is one of more his recent films there, which I want to say was he nominated for that? I can't remember.
I'm not familiar with that one.
So he was in that. You also have Yaphet Kotto in this, who's also passed away. He played Parker there. Well, Ian Holmes, I should mention Ian Holmes as the character Ash. He's the science officer on the ship. So everybody has defined roles on this spaceship here. And they're doing a mission of collecting some cargo. They have to take it back here to their company that they work for. The Wayland Corporation is what the company they have to take it back to. And they all have defined roles. As I mentioned, Ian Holmes, who passed away, he plays Ash. He's the science officer. Harry Dean Stanton, who's Brit. He's the engineer. He's one of the engineers on the ship, along with Yaphet Kotto. Parker, who's the chief engineer of the ship. Yaphet Kotto, people might know, he was, at this point in time, he was in the Bond movie, there, Live and Let Die. He was one of the villains of that movie. And then he also starred in the famous series called Homicide: Life on the Streets. And apparently, Yaphet Kotto was apparently a pain in the ass on set, like to Ridley Scott. Like, he was annoying the hell out of him because he didn't want to die in the film. He was very heavy, insistent on, I don't want to die. I want to find some way to kind of make it out. And he would get all these suggestions in the movie there. But he plays Parker there. You also have John Hurt, who also has passed on as well there. He's the person that's involved in the famous chestburster scene, which I'm going to play a clip of in a minute here. But yeah, he's also passed on there, but he's also done tons of stuff there. He also did V for Vendetta. He was also in, I don't know if he wants this on his jacket, but he was also in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. He was also in Snowpiercer as well. I love Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer was great.
He's also in that, so he's a very legendary actor there. He's the executive officer there. You also have Tom Skerritt, who he's still alive. Tom Skerritt, so he's one of the people that is. He's 90 years old. He is 90 years old there. He's appeared in things like Top Gun. He's appeared in things like The Dead Zone, MASH. There, so he's been around for a long while now. Yeah, he still there is and stuff. And he also was in the movie Lucky as well with Harry Dean Stanton. He's the captain of the ship. The Nostromo is what the ship is called there. He's the captain of the ship. And then you also have Veronica Cartwright, who's also, she's still alive. She plays Lambert. She is the ship's navigator there. So she's the one directing them there as well. And you also have the actor John Finch, who's in this as well, who's is Kane in this. Who was, I mean, he was supposed to be Kane, but originally he was cast, but then John Hurt took over for him because he couldn't do it because John Hurt was busy. So then they cast John Finch, but then they were like, oh, well, he got busy as well. So then it's like, oh, well, John Hurt's available now. We go ahead and get him there for that role. So yeah, Alien. It also spawned a franchise. Many movies here. Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, Alien Romulus. You also have the spin-off movies, Alien versus Predator and Alien versus Predator Requiem there. I think I've seen Alien versus Predator, but I've never seen Alien versus Predator Requiem. I think I maybe have seen both there.
I'd say the second one's worse.
I think I watched those because I did a marathon of because we were ranking the Predator movies, so I did a marathon of
Mm.
all the Predator movies here. And we mentioned before, I think we talked about, I forget what we were talking about, where we say franchises just join up, like when fast food places kind of slowing down on business, like Baskin Robbins and Dunkin' Donuts. Like that's what franchises should do. Just like, your franchise is dying, my franchise is dying. Why not just join up together? You know what I mean? Alien versus Predator. I think was kind of like that. I don't know, maybe if you want to do Terminator and Friday the 13th, join those together or something like that.
They did
Um,
do Freddy versus Jason.
they did do Freddy versus Jason, and it was supposed to be, I think, Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, which would have been way cooler, but that didn't happen
I
there.
want to say they also talked about, of course, it didn't happen. They also talked about doing a versus Freddy versus Jason versus the Leatherface at one point too.
I feel like would that work? I mean, he's such a human character, Leatherface.
Oh
There,
no, he'd get taken out right away. I mean, I guess I haven't seen too many of the Texas Chainsaw sequels because I've always just heard very negative things about the sequels. But maybe it gets more supernatural. I mean, to be fair, Michael Myers, really ramped up how supernatural that character felt over the course of the movies.
yeah.
So it could have always had that effect.
So Sage, you said this is kind of one of your favorite films. What are your thoughts on Alien?
One thing I want to point out right away too is the footage of the trailer that you played. That was for the re-release, right?
This one?
Yeah, yeah, that's for the re-release for it coming back to theaters.
Yeah.
It just strikes me as funny because this is one of those movies from an era when trailers did not give the whole movie away. And I feel like for a re-release, this trailer is totally just showing money shots from throughout the whole movie. One of the things I always go back and praise for a movie like Alien is having a trailer that was intriguing, but also didn't really tell you anything, didn't spoil it. And it's just funny to see it like celebrated with here's a huge spoiler for the whole thing. I mean, not that it's probably going to be mostly fans that already love it going to see this, so I suppose it works well enough in that sense. But it's just a funny difference to me. But no, this is one of my favorite movies. I mean, I probably watch it once a year, so I couldn't even tell you how many times I've seen it. It has always held a special place. It's been one of those first horror movies that I probably ever saw back when I was way too young to be watching them. And I just remember, it was one of those movies that made me fall in love with movies and then special effects and practical sets and just kind of the way that a movie could show you something just totally out there you weren't familiar with.
Mm, yeah. You have that very much the models here. They were all very well done. And this movie had a very small budget. It only had an $11 million budget here for Alien. Ended up crushing it at the box office, $184.7 million at the box office that this movie did. Obviously went on to become a huge cultural film, their pop cultural film in terms of the references, in terms of the franchise that it spawned, as we mentioned, with all the sequels. In terms
Today
of
we have Disney Alien Easter egg toys, so it's
yeah,
really come a long way.
and you mentioned the genius of advertising. So yeah, when the trailer came out back in 1979, you just had that egg, and the egg was kind of cracking, and you didn't know what it was or what it was about, or
It doesn't
what the
even look like the egg that's in the movie. That's how like not anything that the trailer showed you.
yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, I mean, no, it's going to be about an alien. You know that for sure. They're in space, but as far as like what's all going to happen there, that was very much a mystery until you saw the movie there. Which I think that's why a lot of the other alien films you can't really replicate this first alien film because you can't have that initial surprise there of what the alien is or what that is or what's hunting them. And just as far as the direction of the franchise, and where it kind of goes. It's like, okay, Aliens did okay. Now we've seen one, but now what if we see 1,000 of these things? How dangerous would that be? So it's like after that, it's like, okay, where else do you kind of go with this franchise once you see that?
A
Um,
brick wall.
Yeah, I mean, this is like where I mean, they've just kind of done the same things. The people running around in a ship and they're being chased by the xenomorph and all this type of stuff. So it's kind of like, okay, where else can you kind of go from here? Yeah. So, I mean, well, something to really love about this movie is how much it feels like, they're just people doing a job. There's just like a crew. You know what I mean? Space truckers type thing. There, they're just doing a job there. Each of them have a role on here, and we see them being woken up from stasis. They're being woken up from these pods here because they kind of get a distress signal to go to this planet. It's like, the company wants them to check it out, gather some information, bring back a specimen there. And of course, that specimen is, the xenomorph. And John Hurt is the one that being the first victim there of it, the face hugger, the creature that just latches on to your face there and kind of wraps itself around you. Also, another thing about this is very phallic. A lot of things, very much penetration going on with this there. That this can be mentioned there of this kind of creature.
I
And
definitely recall reading an interview with Ridley Scott where he talked about how he kind of wanted to impose on kind of everyone and men maybe who don't think about it as much, but like kind of the idea of like what a sexual violation kind of seems like. Obviously it's done in the sci-fi horror film with a parasite way, but it was definitely trying to replicate that sort of uncomfortable subject matter.
yeah. And I don't know. I mean, we talked about this a little bit discussing the movie beforehand. I mean, John Hurt is an executive officer. So, do you think he should be smart enough not to stick like he's sticking his head way up in there? Like, look at that.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, he does go right for it. I mean, it is kind of a dumb move, but I mean, I think I'm willing to let some dumb decisions go in a horror movie. At least, hey, at least he's a space trucker, unlike Prometheus, where it's supposed to be like the smartest scientists in the world, and they're still doing the same thing.
and you see that this is a scene where they try to remove it from here. Um, and this is also a similar scene here where we see that, you know, it's kind of like like this host here that's like it's attached and like they try to remove it and it's getting stronger. They're wrapping itself around him. Also, if that wasn't bad enough, it also bleeds acid. Where you see in this, where you see that. And there's a big argument of whether or not to let him on the ship. You have Sigourney Weaver character who she's the warrant officer on the ship there, and in kind of military structure, you have your officers, you have your kind of NCOs there, and then you also have kind of a warrant officer who's more of a outside that kind of structure there, more of a specialized person in their particular field. And there's an argument with Dallas, who's the captain of the ship, on whether or not to bring back him onto the ship, and it's kind of an argument back and forth. What did you think about that scene?
Oh, I like that. I think, I mean, I'd be freaked out. I wouldn't be sure whether or not we want to bring something that we have no understanding of. I also wouldn't stick my face in something I have no understanding of either, but I guess that's where they got themselves. But yeah, I like that little bit of conflict in there. And obviously, like everybody has some sympathy because they know this guy, they work with this guy. But I like that the way fear kind of spreads around from person to person, I think is feels pretty organic. I also like how, and also to call back to before they go down there, the way the science officer makes it clear that the company they work for is pretty much blackmailing them to go do this. And then when they're having this argument, Ash immediately is like, no, no, come on, bring him in, bring him in. Come on, we want to bring him in. He's very, very, very ready to take that side.
Yeah. You kind of see that there. So yeah, I mean, he kind of dids the argument where he just kind of lets them in anyway. And of course, we know why Ash does that. So that was very good there. I kind of like that back and forth. And like I say, mentioning what I mean, very much they're kind of being blackmailed to do that. And you do have as you mentioned, the two engineers, Yafet Kodo and Harry Dean Stanton, who are very much, both are like, okay, are we still getting my shares though? I still want my shares. Are we still getting my money? Is that still on the table here? They're very much about that. So that kind of feels real. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I'm doing this mission, I'm doing this job. We're going out of our way to go to this thing. we getting paid extra for this or what, or kind of what's going on there. So I thought that was really well done. I thought that was really well handled there with this.
Considering the company they work for, we learn about it in future movies. These guys might be living paycheck to paycheck. So
Yeah. So I don't know what they're getting paid in, future space bucks here. It's still not enough. Inflation is still going up. It's like, hey, doing this job still kind of not enough for me here. So I that felt kind of like they're more real people. I think the movie does a great job, even though it's not a very long movie. It's just about comes in 2 hours really. There, it's not very super long. At establishing everybody and everybody's role on the ship and kind of their dynamic here and kind of what they do. And they've been at this for a minute now. And I think the movie also, if you didn't know coming into it, of course, Sigourney Weaver makes it out. You kind of didn't know who was really going to make it out of this. I don't think it makes it that clear. What do you think there, the cast?
no, I totally agree. I don't think there's like an obvious lead character in the. I'd say probably the whole first half. I think Sigourney Weaver starts to maybe halfway through you start to notice that she's stepping in a little bit more as things are getting worse. But yeah, for not until quite late in the movie, I don't think it's even obvious like who the lead character is supposed to be because they do such a good job of balancing the ensemble.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're just like, I don't know who's really gonna make it out of here. Who's gonna do well there. Ulysses said here, Prometheus was where you don't go. I can't tell you that much.
Yep,
Uh and then he also said, also the cat lit. Cats never survive in horror movies there. She
that's
went
true.
back for that damn cat. She was kind of in the clear there, but Sigourney Weaver, Jonesy, there is that cat. And she went back for that damn cat.
A
There.
lot of trouble to go for that cat.
Yeah. And that cat got Henry Dean Stanton killed. That cat did
Did.
that. Didn't even do nothing. Didn't even warn him or anything like that. It just like, yeah, just let him get eaten by the alien there. Um, so and we see kind of the alien and we finally see the creature in this infamous chest burster scene here, and kind of really well done and kind of really well set up here. Yeah, let me play this. The food ain't that bad, baby. What's wrong? What's wrong? What? Hey, what's man? He's really selling, and I gotta give him.
He really is.
Yeah, I kind of love how the alien just kind of just looking around, like, who are you people? What's going on?
He's got to really take his surroundings in.
Yeah, which I don't even know how the alien sees really. I mean, I don't know where its eyes are there.
It does. It does actually have eye sockets that are underneath the dome. There's certain images, in particular of the costume in the original film, where you can kind of see through the top of the skull if it's in bright light. And there are eye sockets underneath it.
Oh, okay, so it doesn't operate off like echolocation or anything like that.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it does have legitimate eyes. They're just shielded by its exoskeleton.
Okay. And then the way it just kind of runs out of there, like it just like I'm getting out of here, like it just kind of skedaddles. It just was, damn, it just runs out of there like that. Yeah. So that scene, and then the fun thing about that scene, so yeah, we talked about it beforehand, is that yeah, the crew didn't know about that. Only John Hurt knew that was going to happen. Yeah, so that was very nice there. So
I believe Veronica Cartwright like legitimately fainted.
Damn, she thought like, damn, it's real. What's going on is
Really
real.
freaked her out.
I mean, she does have the best reaction out of everybody. I mean, her going, "Oh my god!" I mean, she does have the best reaction there, and she's a fan. I mean, she's a veteran of horror movies herself. She was in Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Birds there as well. So she's a veteran horror actress there. Ulysses said in AVP games you can play as one, and you sense people as heat or sound rather than direct vision.
Oh, that's interesting. Hmm.
So he's talking about the xenomorph there, and we see with the alien, they're hunting this alien, the xenomorph throughout the ship. That takes part a large part of the movie there, and it constantly gets bigger and bigger as we see there. And the alien, when it gets to be full size, Badejo is the actor. So there's actually an actor in the suit, in the costume there, that is the alien, and he was a
I think there
26
are
year.
two guys.
There was two guys.
Yeah, I think Eddie Powell, I want to say, was the other guy here that
Yes,
I think they switched back and forth depending on the scene.
Eddie Powell and Roy Scamell there, and some of the scenes there.
Okay, so three. Okay.
Yeah. So of course he was kind of brought there because of his height. He's a tall guy. He was 6'10". He also has this very slender type frame. Let me pull up a picture of him. And he unfortunately he passed away very young at the age of 39. That sickle cell
Mhm.
that he passed away there. But you can see here, yeah, very tall guy. So kind of very fit, kind of very alien type structure here with this. Yeah, very, very well done here. You see the xenomorph taking a break after a long hunting people. He's like, man, it's tiring. I'm taking a smoke break.
Thinking about his life.
Yeah, thinking about his life there. You see that. So yeah, very, very well done there. And I'll pull up some test footage they done there with it as well. What do you think about the creature of the xenomorph? Do you think it's lost its luster now that we've seen so much of it? Now.
I don't think it's any less iconic, but I definitely think it's been undercut by just having, so many sequels. Obviously, I think that first sequel, Aliens, it works pretty well. Yes, it shows a lot more of it, but I think it manages to find a fresh way to keep it threatening. But I mean, it was what, 5 years ago or so we had the Disney Fox merger, and not long after there were colorful xenomorph Easter toys coming out, and there was even like a children's cereal brand at one point that had a xenomorph on the box. I do think it's been overexposed. I don't think it makes the design itself less great, but it's overexposed in pop culture to the point where if someone was to watch this movie for the first time today, if they've managed to avoid all those little things, then it can still have the same effect. But I think there's a good chance of having the image of the creature ruined a little bit by seeing all these cartoony, almost child-friendly versions of it beforehand.
You talking about something like this right here? With that.
Yes, yes, that exactly. Clusters of Easter egg toys with little colorful xenomorphs that pop out of them. I mean, that's it's hard to take it in as horror when you can go buy merchandise like that.
I'm gonna go to do a good Easter egg hunt and hunt for some xenomorph eggs. You could do that, yeah. Maybe they're missing out on an opportunity. Maybe they should release an alien movie during Easter Sunday. It's like, hey,
Oh, there you go.
that's a good marketing opportunity right there. Wow, this is crazy. I'm looking at this. So if you want a xenomorph egg life size replica with LED lights, seven
Oh my
hundred
God!
dollars. If you want
Wow,
one,
that's
jeez.
I can show you right here. This is not $700, but this was a birthday present I got once many years ago. It's like a ceramic cookie jar. You got some little face hugger on the top there.
Oh, how much was that?
It was a birthday present, so I honestly don't know how much this cost.
Oh, okay. Do you ever put cookies in there?
No, I leave it empty. I just gotta have it on the shelf.
Yeah, it'd be funny. Go there, read some cookies. Face hunger comes out. Yeah, kind of
Or
gets you there.
right next to it again with the cartoony
Oh.
merchandise that they've built. I don't know if that feels very threatening. I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Ripley is officially, hey, she's a Disney princess now. I guess. I mean, she's a.
I technically.
So yeah, and this is some of the test footage here of the actor in the costume here. Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I mean very much with his slim like structure, kind of like Slender Man or something like that. That makes it look kind of creepy there.
Totally. I mean,
And
they had to recreate the feel of the body type of it with puppets and CG in all the sequels and stuff. So, I mean, I appreciate the puppets at least in the second movie, but it's hard to beat just having someone in a suit, filming it at the right angles to make it look creepy like that. That it just it feels viscerally real in this film in a way that it definitely doesn't in a lot of the sequels at least.
Yeah. I don't know. Here, it just kind of looks like he's just lost. He kind of like, damn, how did I get my way out of here? Like, hold on a minute, who turned off the
Missed his
lights?
bus stop and
Yeah, it just kind of looks like somebody just turned off the lights on him there. But yeah, so you kind of have them there, and the music of the Alien movie too is also very iconic. Like that kind of
yeah,
the music here. Let me see who did the score here for the music.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Jerry Goldsmith, who also he's passed away in '04. He passed away. He's also helped compose Star Trek there, the Rambo movies, Logan's Run, Planet of the Apes. Let's see, Tora there, Chinatown, The Omen, Poltergeist. Damn, he's done a lot. He's got a great resume there of good horror stuff that he's done. So yeah, Jerry Goldsmith there.
45th anniversary of the movie, 20th anniversary of his death, unfortunately.
Yeah. So yeah, very good music. I think that also adds to the ambiance of the film as well. That adds to it. In this kind of tight corridors, the ship.
I'd
Yeah,
say that honestly, any horror is going to be like 70% its music and its sound design. And yeah, it's just like perfect in this.
yeah. That adds a very much a lot to it. I was trying to think with this movie. I mean, any big negatives with it? Any issues with this movie?
If you're not a cat person, you're gonna have a real hard time believing she goes back for that cat. I mean, even if you are a cat person, maybe that still seems like a little much. I get it. It's like the only person that she had left that she could do something for, or not person, but only living thing there that she was able to do anything for. But it really, I mean, she cut it real close just to go back for that cat.
Yeah, I think maybe that's probably the people thing that people kind of talk about most is going back for that stupid cat.
I've seen people roll their eyes many times at it.
But I mean, I can't really think of a major issue with this one. I mean, it's very tight. The characters are really well done. The way they do kind of establish everybody, introducing the creature, the way they kind of tease that out. Even still going back and knowing what the creature is and knowing what it looks like, the anticipation to see the creature and then it kind of picking them off one by one is still very well done. It's still very good. I think the deaths could have maybe been a little bit shot better. I think that's just because of the budget that they had at the time that they couldn't show it that well. So I think that's one thing there. Some of the
Harry Dean Stanton's character's death, you don't even really see on screen. I think you only get a sense of what happens to him in a deleted scene, I think.
Yeah. Let me pull up his death scene real quick. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was yeah. Some of the death scenes aren't really handled all that. It doesn't really look that good. Like Yvette Kodo and then Veronica Cartwright there. Yeah, I don't think that. So some of that does good, looks good. What do you think about the death scenes though?
Yeah, I can see that maybe being one of the a little bit of a weaker points. I guess I'm so used to so many horror films since then having just these really creative ways of shooting death scenes. And yeah, I can see that being a little lackluster. Although I think it does have one of the most iconic death scenes of all time. At least the one, which is the one that you played already earlier with John Hurt's character. But that one is shot really, really amazingly.
Yeah. And this is the deleted scene right here. Where it's the uncut scene. With Brent's death here. You see kind of the alien kind of come down. Um, yeah. So you see that right there with this creature. And do you ever think like just run? I mean, or you just think it's like okay, it's believable that he just be frozen in fear right here.
I think it's believable he'd be frozen in fear. I mean, I think it's very easy watching movies and storytelling to have that kind of like just get out of there, just do it, just go, that reaction. And I'll do it. I'll say that to my TV sometimes. But realistically, shock the like that kind of paralyzed shock and fear is not actually that hard for a stressful situation to trigger in the human brain. So I do think it's pretty realistic. It might be, as a viewer, you might feel frustrated because you don't have that shock right? You're able to think clearly. You're like, no, get out of here, man. But I think it's realistic.
Yeah, so here you're seeing a lot more of his death than you do see in the actual movie here. And when people start getting picked off, I mean, they really start, they start freaking out, they start breaking down. They start kind of turning each other on the way there. Um, because yeah, more of them just kind of go one by one. So the first is John Hurt. Then after John Hurt's character, then it is Harry Dean Stanton. Then after him, then there's the also I think one of the more impressive scenes, even though you don't really see anything in this scene, the Dallas death scene I think is also really well done. The tension of that scene, I'm gonna play that, is really, really well done. And then Ulysses said that as much as I love the movie, the ship, computer, and tech look hilariously dated, like just endless 80s buttons and monitors.
I can see
So
that. That's
yeah.
a little true.
Yeah, trying to make it very futuristic, but it looks like a 90s Windows computer here, you know what I mean? Like it kind
Right.
of looks like that. Yeah, I could see that as well there. But this is kind of really well done. So they find out that the creature is in moving through the air shafts there of the ship. So they're gonna go in there and they have this monitor there that can follow the movements there.
And when
So
you talk about how great the sound design is, that sound effect that that monitor puts out is one of the most iconic things from the franchise, I think.
yeah.
Uh, am I Claire Lambert? I want to get the hell out of here.
Oh, God, it's moving right towards you.
Uh,
Move, get out of there. Moving towards you, move. Dallas, move, Dallas. Move, Dallas, get out. Oh, no, not that way, the other way, God.
It just kind of looks like he's about to give him a big hug. He's like, "Hey, what's going on, pal? Like, what's going on, man?" Yeah, he just kind of goes there. It's like that
Looking
was
for a
kind of
kiss, that's all.
yeah, with the second mouth there. So yeah, that was I thought that was really well done there, and that's a quick kind of moment there. He just kind of goes. Um,
There's another cool deleted scene that follows up on what the alien does with Dallas's body, which is because the second movie, it creates this hate. They're kind of like insects a bit. They have a hive mind thing. They have a queen that lays eggs. In this first movie, you don't get nearly as much of a sense of how they like reproduce or how they think exactly. And there's a deleted scene where I believe it's Dallas's body is Sigourney Weaver finds it in the vents, and it looks like almost the way that like wasps or bees will use find and use material to make like a nest. It seems to be like using his body to almost turn the flesh into an egg sac. So it seems like there's almost a slower, more singular reproductive process that Ridley Scott had in mind.
so this is the scene right here where yeah, it's like a cocoon that he's kind of in here. What Dallas is in, huh?
Yeah, and you can see even it's starting to form the shape of the egg sac around the body there.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So I've actually never seen this deleted scene before there. Uh, Yeah, and she ends up having to be the one that like kills him there, pretty much ends
Yep.
everything. Yeah. Hmm.
Makes you
Never.
wonder what Ridley Scott had in mind for the life cycle of the creature and how that all would have played out if he had maybe done the sequel. I mean, of course, I love it the way it is, but it just makes you wonder.
Yeah. So that death there, with Dallas, and then you see there's always something up as you may see with these clips with Ash, with him the way he's just kind of looking at things, doesn't ever have a real reaction, to
He
things
waits
there.
way longer than anyone else when John Hurt's character is dying to get up or even really show any concern.
Yeah. And you see that, Ripley, because he's the only one that talks to Mother. He talks to basically the people in charge there, has direct communication with them, and getting feedback. And Ripley says, "Well, I was just gonna talk to myself. I think you're basically useless. You're not doing anything. I want to know what their directive is." And then when she kind of discovers that and discovers that the main objective is getting the species, and then the crew actually on the ship are secondary. You know what I mean? Keeping them alive is actually secondary, and the big reveal comes that he is an android, actually there. And the thing with the being an android, how you know that the person's an android is they leak jizz. Basically, their blood is jizz. There you see that. So when that gets
Sweat
found
that
out,
out.
yeah. Yeah, and that's when once she discovers that, she tries to warn the other crew members still alive, Parker and Lambert there, and then he's gonna try to basically kill her there. Yeah. And Ulysses says there's a real wasp that does that kind of thing to its prey, probably the inspiration there.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Uh,
I know there's a real species of eel deep in the water that have a second mouth that comes out when they catch things.
mm, okay. Um, yeah. I never noticed that. I wonder if that's probably Parker's or Dallas's quarters, or he's got like naked women or something like that there on his.
Oh, that yeah. I don't know if I noticed that detail before either.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
got to be one of them.
Or I don't know. Hey, maybe Lambert's got something going on there. I don't know. I don't want to discount her as well there.
That's
Uh,
true. That's true. Hey, it's always possible.
yeah. But yeah, he's basically trying to kill her there.
Does such a good job, Ian Holm, as an actor of visually portraying that Ash is malfunctioning. There,
Yeah.
the little mannerisms and just the way he moves around, even from the way he was squeezing the paper there, or his neck movements. It's interesting. Sometimes that can, in some movies, I've definitely seen that come across as over the top, but he sells it with a certain realism to his movement.
Yeah. And what gets him off him is hitting him with a fire hydrant there. And I love this scene. He just kind of freaking out there. Just, yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
man. That's just, I mean, it's kind of very funny, but it's also very good. I think the way they kind of do that there. And yeah, where he just kind of knocks him off there. I think that's really well done. Yeah. So, I mean, your effect code, I mean, it's Park. He gets a win. I mean, he does, get a win in this, even though he
Sure.
does die there.
Not the first one killed off too. At least there's that.
Yeah, not the first one killed off, so he's got that kind of going for him there. Um, and it also has that scene there where they just have the head and they kind of reattach the head.
There
And
is
they
a
also,
little bit of a goofy effect where they scene transition cut from the prop to the actor's head for him to be able to talk there. There's a little bit of a goofy like that's clearly fake, and then it's immediately the real actor's head. Like the transition is just a little funny looking.
oh yeah, right there, that's what happened. So you have
Yeah,
here, it's a clearly fake head, clearly, yeah, you have that, and then boom, it's like you kind
it's just all
of
of a sudden very realistic looking head.
yeah. You just you see his head clearly sticking up out of a hole in the table there, and he's kind of going there. But yeah, I mean I think that was really well done there.
And a
Um,
great surprise because going in you don't know what the alien's going to look like, but that there's this secondary threat that comes up at all is I think that's such a great surprise the first time you watch it.
yeah, I mean, this movie's just amazing on so many levels there when it comes to the performances from everybody there. When it comes to kind of what it does, I mean, this is kind of one of the template movies when people do sci-fi horror, on a spaceship. It was like, okay, Alien is kind of like one of the high things there. It's like when you do a bottle film, it's like everybody kind of is like, okay, compares it to The Thing or something like that when you do kind of a
Sure.
bottle film. Um,
And
yeah.
Alien and the Thing both went on to inspire the video game Dead Space, which I mean you can immediately tell you look at that game. There's alien inspiration, alien DNA right in the base of it.
Oh yeah. And also I guess also part of the reason, other than being its 45th year anniversary, is you do have another Alien movie coming out called Alien Romulus. There, which I don't think we talked about that. I don't think I talked about it with you. I don't think that.
No, I think that was Dusk.
Okay, it was Dust there. I talked about it this. And this is going to be from Freddie Alvarez, who's from the director. He did Don't Breathe, and he also did the Evil Dead movie, the reboot, remake, requel, thing like that there.
Yeah, the 2013 one.
Which I didn't mind. I thought that was actually kind of decent. I didn't
Yeah,
mind that.
I like that movie. Great. If nothing else, it's a sign for this Alien film that'll probably have very strong use of practical effects.
which it does. They did mention that, so they are bringing back very much practical effects with this. What are your
I
thoughts
saw
on?
behind the scenes video of them with a face hugger that was attached to like a remote control RC car.
So, what are your thoughts on Alien Romulus here? This is just a teaser.
Well,
They haven't released an official trailer, but this is just a teaser here.
yeah, I mean, I think as a teaser, it does what it needs to do. It visually captures the feeling, I think, very well. It has the tone, it has the sound design. Um, it doesn't give too much other than I feel like it's just a preview of the tone itself. As far as that goes, I think they're getting that down right. But I think a number of the Alien movies, I mean, Prometheus' trailers had it, I think, looking like it got the tone right, and then once it actually came out, it kind of did anything but that. But we'll see what happens. That last shot, it does look like a, oh, hey, they're not Ripley. It feels like, are we just kind of trying to reuse some of these same ideas again, which has kind of been such an issue with this franchise, is trying to do some of these same character types or storylines just ever so slightly differently. I'm more, I think this is a chance. I'll give it a shot. I'm more interested in the Alien TV series that Noah Hawley's working on, just because I love Noah Hawley as a creator so much. I feel like he's got to have something weird and different in mind.
Yeah. Ulysses said Romulus. What the fuck is this? A Star Trek crossover or something? I'd watch that.
I'd
Um,
watch the Xenomorphs devour the crew of the Enterprise. That'd be fun.
Um, in this, so you have Kaylee Spaney, who she's kind of coming up. She's been in different stuff. She was in Civil War, the recent film that came out this year with Kristen Dunst. She was also in Priscilla. You also have Elizabeth Marced. She was in she was Dora the Explorer. She was in that, and she was also in Madam Web. There, she's got that
Oh.
on it. Yeah, she was in that jacket there. You also have David Johnsonson, who's in this as well. You also have Archie Rennick, who's also in this, and Spike Furman in this. Do you think that because there's kind of named people in this movie that you can kind of pick already who's going to make it out and who's not going to make it out, just due to looking at the cast there?
I think so, but I mean, I think that lead character is probably going to be the only one left alive at the end. I'd love to see them subvert expectations, but I'm expecting it to. I'm expecting it to follow in the footsteps of the other films. Yeah, I'd love for it to surprise me and really try something else. But
Yeah. And we mentioned kind of the so this would be the one, two, three, four, six, seventh film in the well, yeah, altogether
so
seven
that's
films.
counting the four, and then what? Prometheus, and then Covenant.
So Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, and
Okay.
then this one. So I have actually never seen Alien 3. We were trying to think of what was a franchise that had the best back to back to back directors. So the first
Yeah.
one, Ridley Scott, second one, James Cameron, the third one, David Fincher. People know obviously James Cameron, who's went on to do Terminator and Avatar and all these Titanic. He's made the highest grossing movies ever made. David Fincher has made Seven and Gone Girl, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, also some really amazing films. But I've never seen three. Three, I think, is often brought up as a conversation of like studio interference really ruining this movie. Much like with David Lynch in 1984 Dune, and then David Lynch has gone on to shit talk Dune 1984 any chance he gets. It's the same case. It's the same thing true for David Fincher with Alien 3. Has he just shit talked this movie or?
I don't know if I've ever heard him shit talk it. I actually don't think I have, but I've shit talked it. I can tell you that much.
Okay. So what's the issues with I don't want to go into a full review of it, but what's your issues with Alien 3?
Well, it kind of starts doing that thing right in this movie where you feel like they're starting to recycle their ideas a little bit more. And maybe not as badly as future films and some of the stuff that came later, but you can just feel a little bit of a lack of originality. We're back to, hey, there's one alien and it's picking people off one by one and they're kind of running around. It just changed the setting up a little bit. It's a prison colony that they've landed on, but it feels repetitive of the first one, but without a lot of the originality. And I remember it striking me that the lighting was not nearly as good in this one. Like every time you see the alien, it's just like super well lit. It's never like hidden in shadow very well. It's very kind of upfront and in your face. I remember feeling like it took a lot away from it. The biggest thing, though, I think for a lot of fans is that you know they kill off these two beloved characters in the opening credits before the movie's even started. They just I know they survived the last one, but let's just get rid of them, get them out of the way, so we don't have to get those actors back. That felt like a studio interference moment for sure.
Mm. And I do have a clip of him talking about Alien 3, David Fincher. But real quick, what are your thoughts on Alien Resurrection? Did you ever see Alien Resurrection?
Alien Resurrection makes Alien 3 look like a masterpiece. Alien Resurrection is terrible. I mean, this is down to like Sci-Fi Channel B movie quality, maybe C movie quality actually. It's got just bizarre choice after bizarre choice. Like, I mean, the main character, like you're dealing with like a psychic clone of Ripley that's got xenomorph DNA, and the yeah, you've got some weird actors that pop up in here too, like Winona Ryder and Ron Perlman. It's got an odd cast. Um, Overuse of Dutch angles. I mean, just in this trailer, you're seeing like every couple of shots, there's another Dutch angle thrown in. Weird pacing, just bad dialogue. Joss Whedon actually wrote this screenplay for this before like Buffy the Vampire Slayer I think started. It just I don't know. It really does not work. It feels I think the first two Alien movies are pretty smart sci-fi. This really just feels like a just kind of a dumb B movie, just like it made for TV almost.
Yeah. The Chucky actor, he's in this.
Oh,
See,
Brad Dourif, yeah.
Brad Dourif, yeah, Winona Ryder's in this, Ron Perlman. I forgot that actor's name. He was in The Crow, I want to say, that actor.
Oh, yeah, he was the long hair, the one of the main bad guys, I think.
Yeah, he's the dude with that voice. He was also in Nope. He's got that deep voice like
Oh,
that.
that's right, he was.
Yeah, he's kind of got that deep voice. Then there's also Prometheus, which you said you'd never seen Prometheus.
Oh no, I saw Prometheus. I
Okay.
was so excited for this movie when it was coming out. Watching trailers over and over again, trying to see if I could pick little things out. I thought Ridley Scott came back. It surely this seems like it's gonna be interesting and do something new. I mean, I guess it kind of does something a little different, but in the worst possible way. I think I had a brain fog for the first 12 hours after I saw this movie, and I was like, trying to pretend that it was good, looking desperately trying to find things about this movie I enjoyed. But it really just comes across as a complete mess. It's I mean, just on almost every level, this movie is really stupid. Does not work. Unnecessarily explains things that just didn't need to have an explanation that was more interesting as a mystery. I mean, there's the famous, great scene in the original film where they go into the ship and it ends up with the face hugger attaching to John Hurt, but they see like a pilot room before that with the mummified skeleton of some very large alien in the pilot's chair. It had a hole in its chest. And then this movie said, let's answer that with the least interesting explanation that we could come up with.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen this movie since it came out. This movie came out in 2012, I want to say. This movie came
Yes.
out a while ago. Um, so one thing, I mean, this movie is a prequel to Alien. It tries to give more of an origin to the alien, the xenomorph creature. Um, I never really
Unnecessary prequels in space.
I never really cared about the origin of the xenomorph or where the xenomorph came from.
It
That just never
doesn't
interested
even really do that by the end. That creature that like pops out of the engineer at the end of that movie, it's like not even a xenomorph. Like it's like some weird other design, and like the planet's not even that. It's like it wants to be a prequel and also doesn't want to be at the same time. It really has an identity crisis, I think.
Yeah. I think there's some interesting ideas in here, and then I don't know if Ridley Scott was in his religion,
Yeah.
spiritual kind of state there of like what is life and what is the meaning of life. You have the character who I think is the only interesting character is Michael Fassbender is in this. who plays
He has some interesting stuff for sure. By far the most interesting.
so I think he's kind of one of the more interesting people, and I think Idris Elba is he's the captain, or not the captain, but he's the pilot of the ship. I think he's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think he's the pilot and the captain. I think. I
Yeah.
mean, he's pretty likable. He doesn't leave the ship the whole movie, so he doesn't have the opportunity to do anything stupid. But like the team of scientists that actually goes out there, I mean, they take their helmets off without checking the air quality. The geologist that makes the map for them then immediately gets lost in the cave. The xenobiologist instantly tries to touch the angry snake alien. Like it's almost like they went out of their way to think of what's the dumbest thing that this person in this specific field of science could do. Like, let's tailor make their dumb decisions to what their professions are supposed to be based around.
Yeah. And then after this, I guess Prometheus can be described as divisive, I guess, for some people. Some people really love Prometheus, like it a lot. I think divisive, I think is the word for that. And Ulysses says Alien 3 gave us Xenodogs, 10 out of 10 there. He said.
That's true. That's one cool idea that I'll give Alien 3. The idea that if a facehugger attaches to a different species or life form, it will manifest characteristics of that species. So the singular alien that's running around the prison in Alien 3 has a different body structure. It's always on all fours. It's a little faster than usual because it comes out of a dog. And that at least presents some interesting idea on what you could maybe do with different designs for the creature. Maybe some way to keep it fresh a little bit. But
And then so after Prometheus came Alien Covenant, which I've also seen.
that's the
And,
one I have not seen.
and this one kind of just like a return to kind of basics here of like, okay, you got a crew, people, and they're doing like, I think this movie they're trying to colonize a planet here. They're trying to take a group of couples and then go into a planet to basically have a population there. And so then it just brings back to more of I think one xenomorph where they just picks them off one by one.
I
Um,
think they introduce like a white variant creature in this one, right? It bursts out of someone's spine instead of the chest. If I remember right, it's a little more squid like.
I
It's
think
like a creature variant. I actually read the original script for Prometheus before Ridley Scott came in to actually direct the film, where Damon Lindelof came in for rewrites. And that was actually a much more interesting script. And the idea of the kind of white variant creatures, and there was a gray one as well, actually came from the original Prometheus script. It was heavily rewritten. But that did kind of present the idea of there being a few different variations, maybe kind of delving into the idea of it being a bioweapon a little bit more. And obviously Prometheus kind of threw that stuff away. But
yeah. I from what I remember because I haven't also seen this movie since it kind of came out that it was kind of like just a slasher film, but just with the xenomorph in it.
sure.
Like that was kind of it. Like oh, that's the
And
scene. Yeah,
and
yeah,
some
with the
Michael Fassbender on Michael Fassbender love scenes too.
yeah, you had that kind of going on. That's kind of what I remember from it the most, really. Of like you had a person who like something just happened and then they ran to go take a shower afterwards, and it's like, okay, well, you know their ass is gonna die. That's just horror movie 101 there.
I should maybe give it a try and watch it just because it's the only one I haven't seen. But the marketing for it, I remember at the time thinking it felt like did really Scott direct that one?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so to me it kind of felt like he tried something with Prometheus, and some people liked it, some people didn't. It's divisive, and it almost felt like he was like, well, if people didn't love this, maybe I should just go back and make Alien again because it's so much more heavily about the xenomorph. Whereas Prometheus, it did, I don't like what it did, but it did distance itself somewhat from the some of the basic visual iconography of the creature, at least.
Yeah. It was at least it was trying to do something a little different there with the Alien franchise there. But the only movie to ever kind of come close or on par with the first Alien is James Cameron's Aliens, which came out in 1986 there. With this movie, it's like taking the idea of like, okay, well, what if you've already seen one of these things, but what if you saw a whole planet filled with these things and they were all running around there? Actually, I haven't seen this movie in a minute. But Aliens, you said, I asked you, sometimes which one do you prefer? But some people was like, well, you can't really compare them because both are different movies. The first one's sci-fi horror film. This is more of an action sci-fi horror film. What do you say here?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I honestly think that I would say personally, overall, I think I prefer the first one, and it's just a me loving horror movies thing. But I think on a technical level, these movies are about equally good, just again trying to do something a little different from each other. But I think Aliens is just as good of an action film as Alien is a horror film. The dynamic between the colonial marines and the setup, and I love Ripley, her handle on things and knowing what's going on. But then the way that these Marines go down like victims in any other kind of horror style circumstance, just because they're not listening to her. And you really, like I said, it was kind of interesting with the first one with that deleted scene, the idea of there maybe being an even more kind of alien and a weirder reproductive cycle. But ultimately, what James Cameron did with the Queen having a hive mind, her laying eggs, that does work really well because the original Alien, the character that Sigourney Weaver plays Ripley was originally meant to be a guy, and then they cast a woman in the role, but they didn't really rewrite the script at all. Whereas they knew Sigourney Weaver would be the lead going into the sequel. And there's some really good writing, I think, kind of revolving around motherhood and her own daughter having passed away while she was cryogenically frozen, and then having there's this queen xenomorph and kind of this almost battle between mothers in the movie. I think that's all really great stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, and I didn't know this looking up when I was looking up some stuff about Aliens. She actually got nominated for Best Actress for this movie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she lost out to Marilyn Marley Matlin. Is who she lost out to there with that movie there. And this also has the good corporate asshole Paul Reiser in this as well. He plays a good corporate guy who also he would. Oh no, James Cameron would use that character type again in Avatar. He'd use that with Giovanna Ribisi. He'd use that same character type again.
To a lesser effect, I think, at least in my opinion.
But yeah, I mean, also you talk about some of the video games too with aliens. You mentioned Dead Space was heavily inspired by Alien, but you also
Oh
had
yeah.
I guess this is considered the best Alien game, which is Alien Isolation. It's considered the
Mm-hmm.
best one. There where people can kind of play as. Have you played this?
I've played a little bit. I've never gone all the way through it. I had it on the Switch, and I did not like how the controller mapped the controls onto the Switch controller. It just didn't feel great. So it's something I want to pick up on the PlayStation or the Xbox and go back and kind of try again, just because I think it was the controls getting in the way for me. But this, I mean, in a way, you could say this makes Alien a great trilogy because it does have that more horror focused vibe of the original film. But in this game, you're actually playing as Ellen's daughter Amanda. Well, Ellen Ripley is cryogenically frozen, floating off in deep space, waiting to be picked up for the beginning of the second film. This is Amanda Ripley going out in search of her mother, of course, running into the alien herself, having to deal with it on her own derelict ship. But it's definitely a better Alien 3, or I guess Alien 1.5, however you want to label it, than we ever got for any of the films.
Mm. So Ulysses said the Alien versus Predator games are vastly better than the movies based on them.
Yes, 100%, 100% agree with that. The Alien versus Predator games are actually pretty fun. If I'm not mistaken, the movie Alien versus Predator. It was not only that they were trying to squeeze more money out of the film franchises, which of course that's true, but I believe it was actually meant to be a video game movie. Like it was like they purposely were like, "Hey, there's a video game of Alien versus Predator. Let's make that a movie." So I think that technically counts as a video game adaptation.
Mm, nice. Final thoughts rating there for Alien 1979.
Uh, Absolute, this is cinema, and I mean this. I watch this movie annually. One of my early kind of formative film experiences made me fall in love with film in general. Is one of those kind of iconic masterpieces, I think. stands the test of time, practical effects that are still great to this day, music. I mean, pretty much everything here is well rounded. I don't think there's a real weak link in it.
Mm. I mean, it's hard to give it anything else, but this is cinema. I mean, this is an iconic film, legendary film for all the things that we mentioned. Great performances here, great atmosphere, great music. The tension in this movie is really amazing here. Um, yeah, I mean, this movie is just stellar on every level. Like you mentioned, I mean, the only real thing issues, I mean, some of the technology, yeah, looks very dated. Especially when you do modern movies and then you try to do a prequel like Prometheus, and then it's like, okay, this technology does not look like technology that
Oh
predated
God, not
uh
even a little bit.
predated the one before. So you do have that going on. Yeah, so that there's kind of that. That some of the deaths aren't, I don't think, filmed the best here. But if you do see, like Sage mentioned, some of the director cut stuff, you do get to see some of the more deaths kind of played out there that I think are really good there. Man, I mean, Aliens. It was fun going back and watching this movie again, and seeing it for the amazing film that it is. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend checking it out there. And if you can't see it in theaters, it is playing right now in theaters for a limited time only. And people can kind of probably check it out, see it at your local theater, your local AMC, things like that. It's a classic. It's a horror sci-fi classic. There, a lot of stuff is inspired by this film. So yeah, go see Alien there if you can. So yeah, that was our review. This is Cinemas for Alien 1979. There. Um, all right. Moving on to our next review here will be a last review, and then we're going to be rating somebody after this. I don't think Cal is still on, but the Chill Spot is still on, and a cat named Whitney is on, so they're on there. We can rate them. Miss Gina Darling's playing Fallout 4. Like I say, everybody's
There you
playing
go.
that Fallout now. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
I hope that the first two games got a boost in player base from this. I'd be sad if it was just Fallout 3 and Fallout 4.
well, like I said, they are the most modern ones. They are the kind of the most modern ones there.
I
Um,
mean, they are. That's true.
uh,